Darkness cloaked the stars above as Xander and his crew, clad in their stealth suits, approached the heavily guarded vault. Their cutting-edge technology hummed softly with the promise of power, a symphony of potential chaos that would enable them to bypass even the most formidable defenses. "All right, team," Xander whispered into his comms, his breath measured and focused. "Siler, you're on jamming duty. Kane, start hacking the security systems. Orion, prep the phase shifters. We don't have much time before they realize we're here." "Understood," came the chorus of replies, each member of the crew moving with practiced precision. The air buzzed with anticipation as they went to work, their determination fueling their movements. As Siler activated the signal jammers, Kane cracked his knuckles and began to infiltrate the vault's security system. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, manipulating code and exploiting vulnerabilities with ease. Meanwhile, Orion readied the phase shifters, devices that could temporarily distort the fabric of reality, allowing the crew to walk through solid matter as if it were mere vapor. Xander watched his crew work, pride swelling within him. He knew they were the best at what they did, and he had handpicked each of them for their unique skills. What united them all was their insatiable lust for wealth, the driving force that motivated them to take on such a high-risk job. And now, with the allure of the artifact's immense power hanging before them like an untapped vein of gold, Xander felt his own greed gnawing at the edges of his consciousness. "Kane, how's it going?" Xander asked, his eyes never leaving the imposing structure of the vault. "Security systems are down," Kane replied, a hint of smug satisfaction in his voice. "You're good to go." "Orion, phase us through," Xander ordered, his heart pounding in anticipation. In a ripple of distorted space, the crew phased through the outer layers of the vault's defenses. As they crossed the threshold into the inner sanctum, the air grew heavier, charged with an energy that seemed almost alive. "Stay vigilant," Xander cautioned as they moved deeper into the vault. Their surroundings were eerily still, almost too quiet for comfort. It was as if the very walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something to shatter the silence. And then, there it was, the artifact. A shimmering object of immense power and unknown origin, it seemed to pulse with an inner light that beckoned the crew closer. The air around it hummed with energy, casting strange shadows on the walls of the chamber. "Is this it?" Kane asked in awe, his voice hushed and reverent. "Have we found it?" "Seems like it," Siler replied, equally captivated by the artifact's magnetic presence. "Let's not waste any time," Xander said, his greed momentarily eclipsed by curiosity. "We came here for one thing, and we're not leaving until we have it." As the crew reached out to claim their prize, Xander couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay hidden within the artifact's depths. What new horizons of wealth and power would be opened to them once they unlocked its mysteries? And more importantly, what price would they pay for such knowledge? But as his fingers brushed against the artifact's smooth surface, all thoughts of consequence vanished beneath the irresistible allure of the unknown. The moment Xander's fingertips made contact with the artifact, a blinding flash of light consumed them, as if reality itself had fractured and swallowed them whole. For a few agonizing seconds, they felt their very atoms being torn apart and reassembled. What just happened?" Kane gasped, his voice echoing strangely in the unfamiliar air. "Where are we?" Siler muttered, scanning their surroundings with wide, disbelieving eyes. Xander blinked away the after-images burned into his retinas, struggling to make sense of the alien landscape that stretched before them. It was a cityscape like none he'd ever seen, its buildings twisting and shifting in an intricate dance of impossible architecture. The skyline rose and fell in endless cycles, defying all logic and reason. "Did the artifact transport us somewhere?" Orion ventured, clutching his gear tightly as if it were a lifeline. "Seems that way," Xander replied, his mind racing to adapt to this new reality. "But where? And why? More importantly, how do we get back?" Kane added, his tone betraying a hint of desperation. As they spoke, the crew couldn't help but notice the unsettling way the very laws of physics seemed to warp and distort around them. Gravity appeared to be a mere suggestion, tugging at them from odd angles and making their every step a struggle against disorientation. "Focus!" Xander commanded, his voice firm despite the creeping dread that threatened to consume him. "We need to figure out what's going on, and fast." Maybe there's some sort of clue in the artifact itself, Siler suggested, his gaze fixed on the shimmering object that had brought them to this nightmarish realm. Or maybe, Xander said, swallowing hard as he forced himself to confront the darker implications of their situation. We were never meant to leave the vault at all, and this is our punishment for trespassing. Let's not jump to conclusions, Orion cautioned. We've faced impossible odds before, and we've always come out on top. If we stay focused and work together, we can find a way out of this mess. Agreed, said Xander, shaking off his momentary lapse of confidence. Whatever brought us here, we won't let it break us. We've come too far to be stopped now. Then let's explore this place, Kane said, determination settling in his voice. The sooner we understand what we're up against, the sooner we can find a way home. With that, they began their tentative journey into the heart of the fractal cityscape, each step taking them deeper into the eldritch realm, where cosmic horrors reigned supreme. And though they could not yet fathom the true nature of the darkness that awaited them, they pressed on, driven by the indomitable spirit that had guided them through countless adventures before. For Xander and his crew, there would be no turning back. They had ventured into the unknown, and now they must face the consequences of their ambition, whatever those might be. The twisted spires of the fractal cityscape loomed above Xander and his crew, casting sinister shadows that seemed to writhe and contort like living beings. The air was thick with a palpable sense of dread, as though they had stumbled into a nightmare from which there could be no awakening. "Stay close and keep your wits about you," Xander ordered, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of shifting buildings. His eyes darted back and forth, attempting to discern any immediate threats in the constantly changing landscape. "Xander, what is that?" Siler pointed a trembling finger at the horizon, where an immense undulating mass emerged from the foggy darkness. It was a vast, unknowable being, whose shifting form challenged their perception of reality. As it drew nearer, the very air around them seemed to vibrate with an oppressive, malevolent energy. "By the stars," Kane whispered, his usual bravado momentarily forgotten in the face of this cosmic horror, his massive hands clenched into fists, as if preparing for a battle he knew he could not win. Orion stared at the creature, his mind feverishly working to make sense of its existence within the framework of known physics. This can't be real. It defies everything we know about the universe." "Real or not, it's coming for us," Xander said grimly, drawing his plasma pistol. "We'll have to find a way to fight it, or evade it." "Fight it?" Siler exclaimed, his eyes wide with fear. "How do you fight something like that, Xander?" "Focus on what you can control," Xander replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "We've faced the impossible before, and we're still standing. We'll find a way." As the eldritch horror bore down upon them, the very fabric of reality seemed to shudder and tear. It was then that a new figure appeared, emerging from the shadows with an eerie, otherworldly grace. This was Nyx, a being whose ever-shifting form defied comprehension. "Wait!" Orion cried out, his voice tinged with both fear and awe. This might be our only chance to understand what's happening here." "Who are you?" Xander demanded, his pistol still raised as he eyed the newcomer warily. "Are you a friend or foe?" Nyx regarded them silently for a moment, its form flickering like a mirage in the desert sun. "I am Nyx," it finally spoke, its voice an ethereal whisper that sent chills down their spines. "I am here to guide you through this labyrinthine cityscape, to warn you of the dangers that lie ahead, and teach you how to navigate the warped physics of this eldritch realm." "Can you help us escape this place?" Kane asked, his voice hoarse with desperation. "Perhaps." Nyx's voice held a note of uncertainty. "But you must first learn to survive here, to face the horrors that dwell within these twisted dimensions." "Then we'll do whatever it takes," Xander declared, determination burning in his eyes. "We won't let this place break us." "Very well," Nyx replied, though its ever-changing features offered no hint of true emotion. "Follow me, and I will show you the way." And so, with their fates now bound to this enigmatic guide, Xander and his crew ventured deeper into the heart of the eldritch realm, their minds struggling to comprehend the cosmic horrors that lay before them, and their hearts filled with a mixture of dread and determination. The ground beneath Xander's feet trembled as the crew raced through the cityscape, distorted skyscrapers looming overhead like colossal sentinels guarding the eldritch realm. Their twisted forms seemed to defy all logic, casting a kaleidoscope of shadows that danced and writhed around them. "Keep moving!" Xander shouted, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of snapping, creaking buildings that twisted and morphed in their relentless pursuit. Each footfall echoed with an unnerving resonance, as though the very air were trying to smother them. The crew had already encountered several eldritch denizens, monstrous abominations that defied description. And yet they pressed on, relying on their unique skills and abilities to evade detection and survive the nightmarish landscape. "Xander!" Siler called out, her eyes scanning the eerily shifting terrain. "I've recalibrated my optical sensors to track the distortions in space-time. I can guide us through this maze." "Good work, Siler. Keep us one step ahead of these monstrosities," Xander replied, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that if they were discovered, it would mean certain death or worse, a fate none of them could bear to imagine. "Orion, how are you faring?" Xander asked, concern lacing his words. Orion's expertise in interdimensional physics was invaluable, but the mind-bending nature of the eldritch realm threatened to pull him into madness. "Stressed," Orion confessed, gripping his temples as he tried to maintain focus. "But I'll manage." As they navigated the ever-shifting labyrinth, Xander couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around at the warped architecture, searching for any sign of the unseen stalker. It was then that he spotted him. Calder, the custodian of the vault, standing atop a spiraling tower that seemed to defy gravity itself. "Impossible," Xander muttered, his heart sinking. How had Calder followed them into this twisted dimension? What did his presence here mean? "Xander, what is it?" Kane asked, following his gaze up to where Calder stood. "Calder," Xander whispered, staring at the imposing figure. "He's found us." Calder's piercing gaze seemed to cut through the fabric of reality itself as he met Xander's eyes. "You have something that belongs to me," he called out, his voice resonating with power and authority. "I've come to reclaim it." Reclaim? Xander thought, his mind racing. Was Calder truly loyal to the cosmic horrors that ruled this realm? Or was his true allegiance far more complex than any of them could have anticipated? "Xander, we can't fight him here," Siler warned, her voice tense. "We don't know what he's capable of in this place." "Agreed," Xander replied, his resolve hardening. "But we can't let him take the artifact. We've come too far to fail now." "Then we must be clever," Orion murmured, his eyes distant, "and use every advantage we have." "Indeed," Xander said, nodding grimly, "for our survival depends on it." As Calder descended from his perch, Xander and his crew steeled themselves for the confrontation that lay ahead. And though the outcome remained uncertain, one thing was clear. Their struggle against the eldritch horrors had only just begun. In the distance, a colossal structure loomed over the fractured cityscape, its twisted spires seeming to pierce the very fabric of the sky. Xander couldn't help but stare at the ominous sight, dread pooling in his gut like lead. "Xander," Siler said, her voice echoing strangely in the distorted air. "We need to find out why Calder's here." "Right," he muttered, tearing his gaze away from the tower. As they moved through the labyrinthine streets, the crew stumbled upon a chamber hidden beneath the pulsating ground. Within it lay a vast array of alien machinery, humming with an energy that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. "By the cosmos," Orion whispered, his eyes widening in horror as he examined the contraptions. This is a gateway, a dimensional rift generator." "Wait, what?" Kane asked, alarmed. "You're saying this thing can open portals between dimensions?" "Exactly," Orion confirmed grimly, "and it's powered by the artifact." "Then that means," Xander began, his voice trailing off as the terrible realization dawned on him. "The eldritch horrors plan to use the artifact to invade our home universe, which makes our mission all the more urgent." Siler's eyes gleamed with determination. "We must protect our world from these abominations." "Agreed," Xander said, his resolve hardening. "But how do we stop them? And how do we deal with Calder?" "Perhaps I can be of assistance," a voice echoed through the chamber, ethereal and haunting. Nyx materialized before them, its form flowing like liquid shadows. "I have been watching you, Xander, and your crew. I believe we share a common goal." "Which is?" Xander asked warily, his instincts on high alert. "Preservation," Nyx replied, its voice resonating with cosmic wisdom. I am a guardian of the multiverse, tasked with maintaining the balance between dimensions. These eldritch horrors threaten that balance. Can we trust you? Siler questioned, her tone cautious. Trust is a difficult thing to earn, Nyx acknowledged. But know this. If the eldritch horrors succeed in their plan, countless universes will be plunged into chaos and suffering. Then we must work together, Xander said, his gaze locked onto the enigmatic entity. We'll stop these horrors and protect our world. An admirable determination, Nyx commented, its form shifting like a living nightmare. But remember, here in the eldritch realm, reality itself is treacherous. You must rely on one another, for only as a united force can you hope to prevail. Understood. Xander nodded, turning to face his crew. We're in this together. No matter what dangers lie ahead, we'll overcome them, as one. Siler, Kane, and Orion exchanged determined glances, nodding in agreement. As they embarked on their perilous quest to thwart the eldritch horrors, the weight of their mission bore down upon them, a burden they now carried together, bound by loyalty, determination, and the looming specter of a cosmic threat that threatened to consume all they held dear. The twisted cityscape loomed above Xander, its impossible geometry casting eerie shadows that seemed to writhe and pulse with a life of their own. He steeled himself, his heart pounding as he gripped the artifact tightly. The lives of his crew and countless others hung in the balance. Failure was not an option. "Calder!" he called out, his voice echoing through the labyrinthine streets. "We know what you're planning. We won't let these eldritch horrors use this artifact to invade our universe." A sinister laugh echoed through the air, sending shivers down Xander's spine. Calder emerged from the shifting darkness, flanked by grotesque creatures that defied description. Their very presence seemed to warp reality around them, the air thickening like tar as they approached. "Xander, my dear thief," Calder sneered, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. "Did you honestly believe you could simply waltz into my domain and steal the very key to the multiverse itself? You are but pawns in a game far beyond your understanding." "Enough talk," Orion interjected, stepping forward. "I've been studying the physics of this realm since we arrived, and I think I understand how to counteract the effects of these abominations." His voice quavered slightly, betraying his fear, but his determination shone through. "Then let's finish this," Siler said, her fists clenched and ready for battle. Kane nodded, his eyes narrowed as he prepared to unleash his formidable skills upon the enemy. "Come then, fools," Calder taunted, spreading his arms wide. "Witness the true power of the eldritch." As the cosmic horrors surged forward, Xander and his crew sprang into action. Siler's lightning-fast strikes tore through the monstrous beings, while Kane's cunning maneuvers kept them off balance. Orion, meanwhile, used his knowledge of interdimensional physics to exploit vulnerabilities in the creatures' forms, creating openings for his teammates to exploit. "Xander," Nyx's voice whispered in his mind, "you must focus on powering the dimensional gateway. Only then can your crew escape this nightmare." "Understood," Xander replied, his thoughts racing as he poured every ounce of his strength and determination into the artifact. A blinding light began to emanate from it, forming a portal that wavered and flickered like a candle flame buffeted by the wind. "Guys!" he shouted, sweat pouring down his face as he strained against the forces arrayed against him. "Get ready to jump through the portal. I don't know how long I can hold it."
"Leave Calder to us," Siler called back, her eyes locked onto their treacherous foe. "Just get us out of here."
As the battle raged on, Xander knew that the fate of the multiverse rested upon his shoulders. He couldn't fail, not now, not when so much was at stake. With a final surge of resolve, he unleashed the full force of his being, willing the dimensional gateway to stabilize. "Go!" he cried, watching as his crew dashed towards the shimmering portal, breaking free from the eldritch horror's grasp. Though the weight of his sacrifice weighed heavily upon him, Xander knew that there was no other choice. As they leaped through the gateway, escaping the twisted dimension, Xander's vision blurred with exhaustion. He allowed himself a small, triumphant smile, knowing that they had succeeded in their mission, and that the universe would live to see another day. The cosmic tapestry rippled as Xander's crew emerged from the portal, their bodies colliding with the cold metal floor of the vault. The silence that surrounded them was a stark contrast to the cacophony of the eldritch realm they had just escaped, but beneath it lay an unsettling emptiness. Is it over?" Siler gasped, her breath ragged and her eyes wide with shock. "Did we make it?" "Looks like it," Kane muttered, glancing around the room, his hands trembling with a mix of fear and relief. "But where's Xander?" "Xander," Orion whispered, his voice quivering as he looked back at the now-closed portal. "He stayed behind." "Stayed behind?" Siler exclaimed, disbelief coloring her tone. "He can't have. We were all supposed to make it out together." Orion shook his head, tears brimming in his eyes. "He used all of his energy to open the portal. It was the only way for us to escape. He saved us." There was a momentary pause as the gravity of the situation sunk in. Then a cold rage flashed across Siler's face. "We can't let his sacrifice be in vain. We need to honor him by ensuring no one else suffers what we've been through." Kane nodded solemnly, gripping his weapon tightly. "Yeah, we've seen what those things are capable of. We can't let them invade our universe." "Agreed," Orion said, determination flaring within him. "We'll defend our home, and we'll do it in Xander's memory." "All right," Siler managed, her voice barely steady. "First, we need to get out of here. Calder's people might still be around." As they cautiously made their way out of the vault and back to their ship, each member of Xander's crew felt a heaviness in their hearts. Their minds were haunted by the grotesque horrors they had witnessed in the eldritch dimension, images that would likely never fade. "Home, sweet home," Kane murmured as they entered their battered ship. "Never thought I'd be so happy to see this old rust bucket." "Me neither," Siler said quietly, her eyes locked onto the empty pilot's seat where Xander once sat. With a sigh, she took the controls, plotting a course for their own corners of the galaxy. The journey back was filled with silence, as each of them grappled with the scars left by their harrowing adventure. "Take care, Siler," Kane muttered as he disembarked on his home planet, his gaze lingering on the ship for a moment before he disappeared into the bustling crowd. "Goodbye, Kane," Siler whispered, blinking back tears. "Stay safe." As the surviving members of Xander's crew returned to their respective homes, they knew that their lives would never be the same. They were forever marked by the twisted landscapes and monstrous beings they had encountered, and the memory of the leader who had sacrificed himself for their survival. But as they parted ways, they carried with them a newfound resolve. They had faced unspeakable terrors and emerged victorious, and now they bore the weight of protecting their universe from the cosmic horrors beyond. In honor of Xander's memory, they vowed to stand guard against the darkness, ensuring that the fragile nature of reality would remain intact. The inky vastness of space stretched out before Siler as he piloted the ship, its familiar hum now tinged with an eerie resonance only those who had journeyed through the eldritch realm could perceive. The once carefree thief was now a guardian of the cosmos, haunted by memories of monstrous beings and infinite horrors. "Approaching the coordinates, Kane," Siler said, his voice steadier than he felt. "Ready to face whatever nightmares await us?" "Always," Kane replied, his hulking frame imposing even in the tight confines of the ship. A deep breath escaped the brute's lips as he braced himself for another encounter with the unknown. "Orion, any updates on the energy readings?" Siler asked, hoping that his young friend's mastery of interdimensional physics might provide some insight into the cosmic horrors they now faced. "Nothing yet," Orion admitted, frustration creeping into his voice. "But I've been working on a new theory that might help us navigate this twisted reality more effectively." "Keep at it," Siler encouraged, knowing that Orion's brilliant mind was their best hope for understanding the threats that lurked beyond the veil of normalcy. Just thinking about the warped landscapes and shifting forms they'd encountered sent shivers down his spine. "Calder, are you ready to join us? Or do you still have doubts about our mission?" Siler asked, well aware of the former Vault Custodian's reservations. "Xander's sacrifice demands that we protect the universe," Calder replied stoically. "I will stand by you until the end, no matter what awaits us." Siler nodded, his own resolve fortified by the words of the man who had once been their adversary. They had all been transformed by their harrowing odyssey, bound together by a shared purpose and unbreakable loyalty. "Entering the anomaly," Siler announced, his hands gripping the controls tightly as the ship eased forward. The crew watched in tense anticipation as the familiar boundaries of space began to distort around them, each moment bringing them closer to the realm where cosmic horrors reigned. As they ventured further into the unknown, Siler couldn't help but feel awestruck by the twisted beauty that surrounded them. He found himself questioning the nature of reality itself and the role they played in preserving it. What other secrets lay hidden in the depths of the cosmos, waiting to be discovered? "Stay focused, Sylar!" Kane's deep voice broke through his reverie. "We can't afford to let our guard down." "Right," Sylar agreed, snapping back to the task at hand. They had a duty to protect the universe from the terrors that threatened its existence. No matter how much the eldritch realm haunted them, or how dire the odds seemed, they were determined to honor Xander's memory and ensure the safety of all who called the cosmos home. As they plunged deeper into the abyss, the surviving members of Xander's crew faced each new challenge with unwavering courage, their actions serving as both a testament to their fallen leader's legacy and a reminder of the fragile nature of reality itself. And though they knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, they forged onward, united in their quest to shield the universe from the cosmic horrors that lurked just beyond the edge of comprehension.